Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sideline Banter. I am Sam Holt, joined as always by my co-host Derek Tate. We are brought to you by Women of Fantasy Football, and so grateful that they give us a chance to have our show on their platform. Tate, how are you? We are deep into the season. We just hit the trade deadline. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about. This was one of those days where, as much as I love getting fancy with our segments, I was up late and I was like, oh, what do I put here? Oh, trade news, fill in later. Like that was kind of the easiest way to start the show sheet for myself.
We're officially halfway through the NFL season. We are, the final 5 weeks or so for most fantasy football leagues. I don't imagine you were up as late as that extra inning thriller for the Dodgers in the World Series, but I imagine you were doing a little bit of extra legwork for today's episode.
You know, I always try my best, but I'm also really good at saying yes to everything and being overloaded with many a project, which we talked in therapy about today. And we're going to work on saying no. So, a little lesson going forward, but we've got lots of fun stuff to talk about. We don't need to talk about my therapy.
Sam's getting into therapeutic issues now.
No, after my fumbling of the intro last week, I needed to have a little bit of a reset. I don't get a bye week. I feel like I need one, but sometimes just checking with your therapist feels really good. So
I mean, you can tag me in. I can do an intro from here and there. I mean, I know I had a failed acting career, but I make it through an intro or two if you need me. I'm here. I'm on the bench right now. It's fine. You can sub me in every now and then.
I know. This is one of those things where you just need to say, like, this is the asking for help, kind of a thing. We work on that. Again, things that we list in the journal later to work on. It's going to be fine. I want to get to everyone in the chat. Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about waivers, you've hit your trade deadline. I know I have a couple trade deadlines hitting this week. So if you have questions on trades, please let us know. We will get those answered right away. Tate, let's do a really quick recap of Monday Night Football. Were you able to watch the game? Because everyone was experiencing this blackout. I crashed out and went through unsubscribing from several platforms and then re-adding onto a bundle because I was like, I just need football. Like it was an itch where I was like, I'm home alone. My cat is bothering me. I need to watch football. I can't do this.
No, I didn't experience any issues, but that sounds pretty horrifying. And but you didn't miss much because it was a pretty disastrous performance from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it was a weird game. I mean, to be honest, I did not expect the title of my show sheet to say the Cardinals rock the Cowboys in Dallas. That was not in my bingo card for the season or just for this year, really, in terms of how I thought the Cardinals were going to shape up. But let's jump right into it because I think it's going to lead to several maybe trade or streaming start sit questions for those that are tuning in right now. Jakobi Brissett, is he just the key that unlocks Marvin Harrison Jr., or is he just that much better and more competent than what we've been getting for Kyler Murray? Like, is he the guy or is he just better than what they've had?
I believe that he's more comfortable running Drew Petzing's scheme on time. And I think you're seeing that kind of come to fruition with the production we've seen. And look, he threw for 279 yards, Sam, and 2 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Solid defense. I mean, we expected the Dallas Cowboys defense to struggle. They did. Another 261 and 2 scores. Against Indianapolis, a high-scoring game. They were trailing the whole time, but 320 and 2 scores through the air. I mean, you're seeing some consistency here over a stretch of time, and we've seen Brissett have some nice runs before of multi-game stretches where he looks competent. But certainly I feel as if it helps McBride and certainly helps Marvin Harrison Jr.'s fantasy value while he is under center. That seems to be the case, and that's why I think you saw the head coach, Gannon, basically say, yeah, I mean, even if Kyler was healthy, we're going to roll with Brissett because the offense just looks better.
Did they come out and say that exactly? Because it kind of felt like they were like, for now, we're going to stick with Brissett. It felt like they didn't necessarily give a nod to the fact that he could still be hurt, or if they were just like politely declining and just avoiding the issue. It kind of felt a little bit of both, unless you were reading the tea leaves different.
Yeah, I read the parsing of words as, yeah, Kyler Murray's benched, And Brissett is our starting quarterback until further notice. And you can go ahead and get fully healthy on the sideline. And whatever you want to call it, a soft benching, a hard benching, doesn't matter. His ass is not going to be on the football field in the starting lineup. And I don't think he should be, Sam. Like, this team looks more efficient on offense with Brissett under center.
So much more efficient. You talk about the big playmakers having great fantasy days. Trey McBride, 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr. himself having 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets. Definitely just being able to get the ball moving the right way. And it also just, there's something to, I know it's not necessarily just vibes, but I do feel like it means a lot for a team to feel like they have what it takes to move the ball downfield to get a win. This looked like a very exuberant Cardinals team on Monday Night Football. They were happy out there. They were excited to be getting the ball moving, getting it done. They don't look stuck in the mud on the bench as well as on the field. They look like they are actually able to propel forward. And I think, obviously, for fantasy managers, myself included, I have several shares of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. I definitely am leaning into, I'm glad that the Cardinals are buying in on Brissett, at least to finish the season out, to see what they have. We don't know how their season is going to end, but I think it says that they're willing to do what it takes to win, actually, by leaning in on Brissett.
I think we know how the Cardinals season is going to end. They're not going to make the playoffs. At least I don't feel like, even with the positive signs. But look, Sam, we saw 5 games of Kyler Murray in 2025. Do you know how many games he has over 250 passing yards this year?
Ooh, I love it when you ask me numbers questions that I don't know the answer to. Go for it.
0. A goose egg. You and Kyler Murray have the same amount of games of throwing for over 250 yards in an NFL game this year. Brissett, in 3 starts, has topped that mark in all 3 games. So I don't think it's any mystery why it seems like they want to just keep rolling with Brissett under center. I think he gives them a better this sounds insane, but it feels as if he gives them a better chance to win right now than Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they have the best chance to win with him. We can talk a little bit about Dallas, but let's really talk about them a little bit more maybe when we get into trade news. Obviously, they didn't have the best day. Dak Prescott still got 250 passing yards, a passing touchdown, but he had an interception, and it just was not clicking. Pretty brutal for them there. We've got a lot of injury news to get to, but I did see a couple questions in the chat, so I want to make sure we get to those before I run away with words. So let's get to this one. This one from Joseph in the chat. Trade away Gibbs and BTJ for Genti and Egbuka. My depth has been horrible. Been having to start the likes of BTJ, DK, and Bam Knight at flex. I have Benson on IR. I'm 4-5 and in 9th out of 12. So talk about someone dealing with suffering in the middle. We've got to help him out, Tate.
Yeah, I would be okay with it because BTJ's hurt. So I don't know if there's any guarantee that he's going to play this week. He may miss multiple weeks with that ankle injury, which is another reason, and we'll get to Jakobi Meyers being dealt to the Jags earlier today at some point during the show. But Sam, I kind of look at this. If you are 4-5 and you're right there on the bubble, you can't really afford to lose 2 games. And then you're, basically sitting at that 4-7. And you have to win out in order to be able to get to 500. And that may not even be good enough to get into your fantasy playoffs. So I'm okay with it. It feels like you're trading away Gibbs, who's a top 5 back. But I think that given the situation and BTJ's, unknown extent of his ankle injury, I'm okay with it if you want to just kind of offload the risk of Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I think right now I'm feeling very risk averse, and it's not really safe to say spring cleaning, but this is where you look at your roster. We kind of named today's episode Studs versus Duds, and this is where you're really trying to pick apart who you're going to be starting rest of season. You have a lot of players that have gone through their bye weeks, so you kind of know what your roster looks like to try and take you into the playoffs. And if you have to offload someone because they are just not bringing anything in, then I'm completely in agreement in terms of trading away BTJ. Genti and Egbuka, I know how we both feel about Egbuka too. I love Gibbs. I feel like you could maybe get a little bit more for that trade, but just because Gibbs is on fire right now. But Genti's also been good, and Egbuka's been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with it. I mean, it's not something I'd like love, but I would be willing.
I don't
to do
love
it.
it.
If that's the best you can do, then yeah, I would be willing to do it because I think it helps give you a better chance to win this week.
Yes, and it's all about winning now because I mean we're hitting week 10 right now. So if you are thinking you have a chance and you're looking at other teams that maybe are in the top and maybe are dealing with some injuries too, and you think this is maybe a week you can steal some wins from them as well, you've got to do what you can to win now. All right. Another one from Joseph. Are the Jets actually tanking the right way, focusing on only rebuilding the defense and only focusing on QB for offense? I think it's only smart if they re-sign Hall. I mean, they didn't deal him, and he posted some interesting stuff online that felt like he was hoping that they would.
I think he was not so subtly telling the Jets, hey, I would like to be part of this mass exodus that you guys are performing today. So, and it didn't happen. And apparently there were reports that were floated out there that Breece Hall to the Kansas City Chiefs was this close. Like,
really?
They demanded a third rounder for dealing Breece Hall. Did the Jets. The Chiefs were offering a fourth rounder reportedly, and they just didn't get it across the finish line. So fantasy managers who were hoping Breece Hall would go to Kansas City, it almost came to fruition. And instead now you're faced with the reality that he is stuck on a Jets team that the owner doesn't like the quarterback that he just signed this offseason. And it's just a hot mess there in New York. And Breece Hall is going to be tough to trust in your fantasy lineups throughout the rest of the season. Even though the volume will be there, it's still going to be tough to trust that Jets offense. And as great as Breece Hall is, I don't like it.
No, I don't think that anyone looking at that would like it. I mean, God, on the one hand, for fantasy purposes, that would have been so interesting to see Hall go to the Chiefs. On the other hand, to want a different Super Bowl, this is for the best.
And Joseph also asked, though, are the Jets doing it the right way? I mean, think about it. Sam, they offload a floundering team that's clearly on their way to a rebuild. They picked up what? 3 first-round picks.
They've got a
second
picks. But are they going to be able to use them the right way? Because they've had some amazing talent. I mean, Sauce Gardner was a first-round pick for them. So are they going to continue to just pick up great players that they can't do anything with, and then they have to send off for more picks? It's just a weird laundry cycle of like, it's like taking your clothes out of the washing machine and be like, I have clean socks, and one falls on the floor, and you're like, oh no, I'll wash it again. And it's just like, it doesn't make any sense because you're not getting any use out of what you're doing. That's probably not a very good analogy, but I'm in the middle of a bunch of laundry, so that's where my head is at.
Yeah, it just feels like there's no plan.
Yeah.
Organizationally, right? It's just kind of trying to find a plug stopgap at quarterback. You keep missing in the draft at QB on Zach Wilson. You had one in the building with Sam Darnold, who's found success in other places other than your organization. And yeah, Quinnen and Williams in the conversation for a top 5 defensive tackle in the league. Maybe some may even think he's higher than that. Sauce Gardner, all pro caliber corner. If those pieces aren't going to help you win right now, then yes, you made the right move by stockpiling picks. But now you got to plug those gaps of the 2, all pro caliber players that you already had on the roster. So you just hope that you're hitting on these draft picks like you hit on Quinnen and Williams and Sauce Gardner. But yeah, Sam, they're doing it the right way. I just don't know if I trust this organization to be able to hit on those picks because they just haven't been able to, cohesively put it all together, no matter how much individual talent they've had on the roster over the last 5 to 10 years.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like they continue to get these puzzle pieces and they can't get the puzzle to fit. It just doesn't make sense. So doing it the right way, yes, they're rebuilding again, but how long are Jets fans going to be able to put up with constant rebuilding? I'm not quite sure. This is not a Reno project that I like, but we've got more questions we got to get to. Do you have one more thing?
I was just going to say there's a great viral clip of this poor kid wearing, oddly enough, ironically, a Quinnen Williams jersey saying, I hate this team. I was born into this.
Born into this.
I hate this team. It just,
Yeah.
that was weeks ago, and now the poor kid can't even wear the Quinnen Williams jersey anymore.
And the poor kid is getting memed everywhere. I think I've seen that like 5 times today. It's just brutal. All right. This question from Mac. I need a quarterback to stream this week. Who should I choose? My options are Sam Darnold, Baker, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, and Penix. It's quite a lot of options, actually, so it's probably better if we rank them for you. Tate, how about you go first?
Kind of interesting. I'd probably go Sam Darnold. The way he's playing right now, Sam, he should be in consideration for MVP talks. Like that's
absolutely
how good he's been. Then I'd go Baker Mayfield. I could actually see that one being a higher scoring affair between him and Drake May, and that should be kind of fun.
Very fair.
And then what we had the other 2 options. Let me scroll.
Caleb and Bo, and then Penix.
I mean, Bo's fine. I'll slot Bo in there at number 3.
Bo has the Raiders this week, if that helps edge you.
It does help. It does help, but I don't know how high scoring affair that's going to need to be for the Broncos. And they seem to play down to the level of their competition. Seems like they're always in some sort of like 1-score dogfight against, the Giants or the Jets or against the Texans. Like they kind of seem to play down to their competition. So I'll put Bo at 3. And then Caleb Williams at number 4. And then what was the final option? I guess he comes in at number 5, Penix.
Yeah, so. Penix kind of comes in last for me as well. I think looking at these and comparing them to Fantasy Life rankings, fantasylife.com, the consensus rankings has them in this order: Williams, Nix, Mayfield, and Darnold. Penix is on a further page down the list. But I kind of agree with you in terms of shifting these around. I'm definitely leaning towards Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. I do feel like those have the potential to be high scoring affairs. I think the only thing that helps Bo is that he is playing the Raiders. So it's kind of a toss up for me. I think because Nix has the matchup that he does, I think I'll go Nix, Darnold, Mayfield, and then Williams. I don't know why.
He's been volatile this year. I mean,
he's been up and down.
He had the 2 great games against the 2 worst defenses in the NFL with the Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. Sam, prior to his explosion last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, he had 2 touchdown passes in his last 4 games. And those weren't exactly world beater defenses he was facing off against. It was like Baltimore, New Orleans, Washington, and Las Vegas. So I'm just, as much as Caleb, I'm encouraged by this performance, and it was a great moment for him personally, for him to be able to come through in a big moment once their defense collapsed and basically gave up, lost a 14-point lead with less than 4 minutes left in the game. It was a big moment for him to come out there and make a big play and steal that one back with that touchdown pass to Colson Loveland.
Gosh, stealing that one back. Yeah. I mean, it was nice to honestly see this offense have some fun with, being a classic Ben Johnson offense. It felt like it had the gadgets and the things to get it going in a really good way. But to your point, I do feel like it hasn't been completely consistent from Caleb. So another thing is when he's coming off of such a big game like this, I think that's partially why I have hesitation for him. I feel like because we haven't seen so many consecutive back-to-back weeks of the exact same thing, it does give me a moment of pause. And I do feel like the Giants are kind of playing like they have no tomorrow. At least that's the way that Jackson Dart seems to like to throw the ball and run all across the field. I do feel like there's a certain level of that to their defense as well. So I think that's probably why I'm leaning the way that I am. A little follow-up on the trade question that we had from Joseph. For that Gibbs trade, would you prefer Genti and Egbuka or Kyron and Devonta?
Genti and Egbuka.
Same. Love it. This one, Blake Corum breakout coming? I'm not sure.
No, although it's encouraging that in the last 2 games for the Los Angeles Rams, he's seen 12 plus carries, but it also came in, 2 blowouts against the New Orleans Saints and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to put too much weight into that quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, let's talk about some more injuries as we then kind of pull that back into some trade news as well. We've obviously got to talk about Jaden Daniels coming back from his injury. It breaks your heart because he was interviewed coming back onto the field. Like, what does it feel? Get back out there. And he said, I just want to be out here for my guys. And then he goes out with a brutal dislocated elbow. I saw that he went out and then I was like, wait, why did he go out? Never Google. If you see them go out and there's any level of cast on them, to that level of air cast on them, you don't need to see it. Just know it was bad, because as soon as it plays, it's just in your feed. And
right.
God, that was horrible to watch. So absolutely brutal for Jaden. The Commanders are dealing with so many injuries. How do we, as fantasy managers, even try and pick scraps out of this? Because currently, the likes of Marcus Mariota available in 5% of leagues. So if you're looking for someone to pick up because maybe you're thinking, 2 QB league, you're looking for a streamer for a bye week coming up, you're worried about filling out your roster, I understand it, but I don't know what confidence I have.
I don't want to start anybody from this offense. Even Jacoby Meyers, and I love him as a pure runner, but they clearly don't trust him in pass pro, Sam. He has no involvement in the passing game. That's all Jeremy McNichols. Now Chris Rodriguez is kind of being rotated back in there to steal some early down work from JCM. And, Terry McLaurin's hurt, which is like the one vertical option. And we actually saw him have some success with Mariota 2 weeks ago, but then he injures his quad. There's just nobody that I trust in this offense with Marcus Mariota under center. Sure, if you're in a super flex league, because Mariota does run the ball quite a bit, and Cliff Kingsbury is willing to use him in those RPO concepts and zone read concepts. Sure, if you're desperate, but outside of maybe like Zach Ertz as a check down option, there's just not much to get excited about ceiling wise for this Washington offense. So I'm just trying to steer clear for everybody while Jaden Daniels is out of the lineup.
Yeah. And again, I feel like there's other teams that have continuous rotation because there have been so many injuries. So I do feel like you'll be able to find others to start. It's just brutal because I feel like going into this season, the Commanders had, kind of an exciting offense that we were looking forward to seeing. And, even with the news and the shift of, Krosky Merritt coming in and being a big draft candidate as, drafts were going, and his news came out in the middle of several drafts too. I mean, this was just something that we were excited to see, and it just sucks to see the Commanders season go this way.
Yeah, Sam. I mean, I live here in the DC area, and the amount of PTSD that Commanders fans have still from Robert Griffin III having this amazing rookie year, and then injuries sapping him of this dynamic dual threat talent, just catching the injury bug and never being right. Now, Jaden Daniels, this isn't a lower body or knee injury, so thankfully it's his non-throwing arm, and thankfully
it's his non-throwing arm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I know it's hard for Commander fans to like have patience and faith that this is going to be okay, but I do think that Jaden Daniels will be make a full recovery and will be fine. It's just this year is going to be one of those ones that you're probably just going to have to write off and hope that he's able to get fully healthy and make a run at things in 2026.
Yeah, best of to him, and hopefully he has a very quick and speedy recovery process. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of other injuries to cover. Since we're talking about picking up players back and forth between injury and otherwise, I want to talk about Kayshon Boutte with his hamstring injury and the fact that Demario Douglas is a wide receiver candidate for the waiver wire this week at 6% rostered. Kayshon has been fantastic for so many that have either picked him up off waivers, or he was one of those last kind of dart throw players that you grabbed in terms of fantasy value and volume. So I don't know, and maybe you can correct me, because I feel like Drake May is someone that going into this season, I was kind of middle of like, okay, yeah, if I can get him in a league, I'll wait on quarterback, excited. But he's been absolute fire, absolute top fantasy quarterback for this season. He's been fantastic. And I guess I'm just curious if you feel like do you think this is a good week, given the matchup we already discussed against the Bucs, that Demario Douglas can have some consistency and have, some immediate start usage?
Sure. I actually don't really like the matchup because Pop Douglas does a lot of his work out of the slot, and Jacob Parrish, this rookie who has been really a great addition, to allow Tyke Smith to move back to safety full time for Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers defense. And Parrish is someone who's a little chihuahua. Like he gets all over you. He's got a lot of bark. He's very physical for a smaller.
That's a cute way to talk about him.
No, I was waiting for an opportunity, and we don't get to do it much. But Jacob Parrish is certainly a guy that I could see matching up with Pop Douglas quite a bit in this contest. So I just expect, Pop Douglas is certainly worth a spot start this week in a full PPR for sure. I actually like Hunter Henry a little bit more. I think the Buccaneers linebackers struggle in coverage. So I would probably lean towards Hunter Henry. And then, of course, you got Stephon Diggs. But, I don't like Diggs matchup against Zion McCollum, who's had a great year as a boundary corner. So I'm okay with Douglas or Hunter Henry if you want to try to get a piece of the offense if Boutte is unable to go while dealing with that hamstring injury.
Yeah, just looking at the players in terms of how they match up against the opponent for rankings. I mean, it looks like a tough go against the wide receiver positions and even for the tight ends, like you pointed out. Let me see. Am I looking at this right? This doesn't seem right. Hang on.
You probably are. I can't see your screen, but I imagine you are.
No. Needed to update. Hang on. I know. I pay for all this internet and then it doesn't freaking work.
Do we have any elevator music for the folks that are listening via audio?
Got it. There we go. All right. So in terms of best players to start this week, it looks like the running backs probably have the best chance in terms of going up against their defense for how they play the position. Your Bucs are 25th against the run. So kind of like that, but Stevenson's still questionable and Travion Henderson has been really difficult. So could this possibly be a breakout game? A little bit, tiny bit. I don't know, but it's a good matchup for them at least. I think it's going to be an interesting game for sure. Let's jump to, sorry, you were going to add one more thing?
No, I was just going to say if Stevenson is not available, I do like Henderson a little bit more because I do think he has a pass catching skill set that we really haven't seen a whole lot of. But in week number 9, he saw his tied for the most targets that he's seen all season long with 6 targets in week number 9 against the Falcons. He caught 4 of those passes for 32 yards. If there's no Stevenson, I could see him having a nice PPR floor, in particular with Boutte out potentially for this contest, and maybe trying to get Josh McDaniels trying to target those linebackers in coverage against Henderson in the passing game.
That sounds good. We've got a couple in the chat that I want to get to. This one from Mac. Should I drop BTJ for Christian Watson or Alec Pierce?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
is this just how bad it is?
It has been that bad for Thomas. Yes, it's been that much of a struggle. I don't know if I would drop him. I mean, if you're in like a 10-team league, maybe I guess. But I mean, if Pierce and Watson are the best options available, I would rather have Pierce. I mean, Sam, they just traded away Adonai Mitchell. I do think that just solidifies that Alec Pierce is the number 3 wide receiver in this offense. And they really, I mean, Pittman's the guy that is, I think, the number 1, but I could see a path any given week where it's either Downs or Pierce that goes off. And generally Pierce is that vertical threat. And seeing 13 targets against your Steelers when 2 weeks ago we saw 10. Yeah. I think it's not a bad pickup for Pierce moving forward in this offense.
I like that. I think I do like Pierce just a tiny bit more. I mean, obviously Watson coming back from, and then he's just got such an injury bug to me. I'm a little bit nervous, but again, I do feel like it's odd to completely drop him, to your point, Tate, unless you're in like a 10-team league. Then I think
trade him. I would rather trade him for something rather than just flat.
Do a bait and switch. See what you can get. I mean, I'm sure you can trick somebody into taking him. That's how I look at trades.
This is the player that you want to trade for. Yeah,
This is who you want. Yeah. I have one league, and people can come at me in the chat if they disagree with me. I have one league. It's my work league. And for whatever reason, I cannot get anything moving. And I've just accepted the fact that it is not my season in that league. It is just so far gone. I can't fix it. So I have coworkers that are asking me for trades. I had one ask me today what it would take to get Ted McMillan. And I just looked at him and I said, when I get to a point at this, we're going into week 10 with a league, and I look at my team and it's redraft. It's not dynasty. I look at my team like I want to go down with this ship and everything is going down with me. Try winning a championship without anyone from my team. And I think he was a little bit gutted that I said it that way, because it's like, yeah, I could trade with you, but what are you going to give me that's going to make my team that much better? Like, there's no realistic trade where I'm not ending up just handing over a really good player to a team. Like, and I'm so competitive that I'm like, no, I want to see you try and win with what you put together. Like, no. Am I just spiteful?
I think it's a point of pride. I mean, there is a little, you're like emotionally attached to it. And it's almost as if trading away a player that struggled all season only to watch them go off over the final 8 weeks of the season and somebody else reap the benefits of the player that you believed in when you selected them. That is a tough pill to swallow. But I've learned over my years that if you're in a bad spot and you need a win, whatever helps you win, you just go week by week. In particular, I always try to get players, if I'm on a bad team, that have upcoming bye weeks off of my roster for players that have already been through their bye week. So I don't have to try to, deal with those landmines when I'm on life support and need to win every single week.
Yeah, I guess maybe I should add this. Maybe I should add it to my list of things to talk to my therapist about, that I'm just spitefully hoarding players where I don't want anyone to win. I just become that grumpy cat where it's just like, I hope both teams lose. Like, I just don't want good things for anybody when my team doesn't do well. We'll work on it. I'll add it to my list. We've got some more questions in the chat I want to get to before we continue to finish this trade news, which I think we need to dissect. There's some defensive ones that I think between you and I think will be fun to pick apart. But this one from Day on the Water, is Pearsall worth holding, I wonder?
I mean, if you have an IR spot, sure. But if you're having to, if you have, short benches where, you're having to hold a guy, I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, I'd be willing to drop him. But I mean, see if he comes back this week, because it looks like there's a chance that he could play, but it feels like they're non-committal, which tells me that he may not be coming back this week, which makes it like, if you just don't want to deal with the headache anymore, I don't blame you. I do think he is droppable at this point, but he's been productive when he's on the field. So if you have an IR spot, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And at this point, depending on when you dropped him and how your waiver wire works, you could drop him, see if he plays this weekend, and then pick him back up again next week if he happens to do well. But if you need to make a drop so that you can have someone actually able to start and get you fantasy points this weekend, right, I'm fully in agreement. Like, you've got to sacrifice the roster spot where you need to. Let's see. I've got one more, and then I want to jump into this awesome Colts trade, which I'm excited to talk about. This one from Joseph: who benefited from their trades, Alec Pierce or Trey Tucker? Well, this is a perfect segue, Joseph. I appreciate it. Let's just use this to kind of go back and forth between the two. I mean, obviously, we know that the Colts just got better because they added Sauce Gardner to the mix as well. But then Jakobi Meyers gets shipped out to the Jags. I do think this ups for Trey Tucker, but how much volume is even in the tank for this offense to really raise him by that much, do you think?
Well, I do think, to answer the question, I think it's Trey Tucker, who I think has a path to a ceiling that's unlocked. Now that Jakobi Meyers is probably not going to draw that many targets. And hey, I don't think it's Jack Besh season now, now that Myers is in Jacksonville. I think that you're going to lean more heavily than what we even saw on Sunday on Brock Bowers, who reminded everybody in short order that this dude is still a stud when he's healthy. But yeah, no, I think it's Tucker in the short term. And I do think that there's going to be enough volume, Sam, because if they can't fix what's going on the offensive line and Chip Kelly refuses to just keep leaning on Genty to try to get him going early in games, then they're going to be forced to rely on Geno Smith throwing the ball 40 to 50 plus times a game, which those targets got to go somewhere other than Bowers occasionally, which I think is definitively in the best bet is Trey Tucker.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Again, like you mentioned earlier with Adonai Mitchell being shipped out for Indianapolis, I do like what this does for Alec Pierce in terms of his volume as well. Talk about a team that's doing a full push for a Super Bowl. The Colts are certainly making those decisions and trying to shore things up because they feel like they've got a lot to get wins. And yes, I was shocked, probably like everyone else was, that my Steelers were able to, do some damage there. But this is still a team that I think has a really high-powered offense with Daniel Jones, and they have a really good defense as well. This just makes them better on the defensive side.
Yeah, I would have to imagine they're already a team that is able to dominate in time of possession because they're able to sustain drives, and Jonathan Taylor is, the best running back in the league in 2025. So I think that having Sauce Gardner, which this defense on the back end, in particular at corner, has been dealing with some injuries throughout this season. If they get that all-pro version of Sauce that we saw early in his career there in New York, then the Indianapolis Colts defense, I think that they're going to be able to, you're going to see an improvement across all fronts. It's going to allow Lou Anarumo to do a lot more things creatively, schematic-wise, when you have a guy that can lock down an opposing team's number one. So, yeah, I think it has a nice little ripple effect across the board, and maybe just gives this Colts offense even more possessions if they're able to have a better success rate on third downs and get opponents off the field with Sauce Gardner able to drastically limit the opposing team's number one best option in the passing game.
I mean, he is incredibly effective. I know his first year I had him in IDP and he absolutely delivered. I think that he just levels up a defense on that side so much. When he's on, he is on. And this is a team that I think in terms of rounding out their roster, they made the right move in getting someone like him. So to me, it's really exciting. I'm going to use the Colts as a transition for talking about our next our trade news candidate, talking about Rashid Shaheed going to the Seahawks. Crazier things have been said, but are we looking at, Colts Seahawks potential Super Bowl here? Because we're talking about teams going all in, and these are two teams that have been very fun to watch. Seahawks have an elite defense that has just been absolutely crushing. Sam Darnold is a man revived constantly and always on the up and up, and an MVP candidate, I think, as well. So crazy to say possible Super Bowl, or what else does Shaheed do to help this offense? Because Kupp is obviously dealing with an injury. I think this has to help them just give more weapons.
Well, Sam, it's not just about getting another weapon for Sam Darnold. It's about the fact that Rashid Shaheed has immense familiarity with this scheme. He's going to be able to step in immediately because Clint Kubiak was the offensive coordinator in New Orleans last year. So they have familiarity during, just dating back one calendar year ago. And when we saw a healthy Derek Carr early in the year for the New Orleans Saints in this Clint Kubiak scheme, we saw Shaheed start the season with 73 yards and a score, 96 yards and a score. But then he put up a goose egg against Philadelphia Eagles on 5 targets. But then the very next game, 8 catches on 11 targets for 83 yards. And then, 86 and a score the very next week. Sam Darnold, we already talked about, is playing at an incredibly high level. Particularly, he's like leading the league in yards per pass attempt. So he's pushing the ball vertically down the field. And what they want to do with trying to sit in 12 personnel, kind of heavy personnel with, AJ Barner and Elijah Arroyo on the field. And at their core, they want to run the ball with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. But if you're going to commit extra resources to slow down that running game, Sam, now you've got JSN and now a bona fide guy that has proven success in this exact offensive scheme, which I think has an upgraded quarterback from what he saw last year with Derek Carr.
Fair.
Sam, I would not be surprised from this point on through the rest of the season if Rashid Shaheed is a top 25 fantasy wide receiver. Right now, he's the wide receiver 26, and he's been playing with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. I mean, I'm just saying that I see the upside with this, and I think it's a perfect fit for just giving this Seattle offense, which is already clicking, more vertical options in the passing game to make them that much more explosive in this scheme.
I agree. And I think Shaheed isn't necessarily someone that's a waiver wire candidate. I mean, if he's available in your league, I'd be shocked. But he's someone that when you look at how you build a roster and where you're drafting players, this is one of those moves where you're happy that it fell into your lap. I think that you're excited about the potential up and up that you're going to get from this. It takes someone that you were considering a wide receiver 3, depending on the matchup, to really flex potential in any given week, any given Sunday, depending on their matchup, because I think that there's just that much going into this offense that now he can be utilized. My good friend and bestie Kendall is in the chat saying she might go out and get a Shaheed jersey tomorrow. I would not be surprised if it's already in your cart, Kendall, because I know how you like to shop because we're the same.
Yeah. So when it comes to Rashid, I'm going to go ahead and quote Coming to America, but I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on it.
Please
when you think of garbage, don't think of Rashid. Anyway, I had to. Come on, Sam. I haven't.
We have so many people watching. We have so many people.
I just embarrassed you. I'm sorry, but I mean,
I was like, Coming to America, what's he going to do? As soon as you said it, I was like, of course.
You knew where this was going.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Another comment on this. Only sad things about Shaheed going there is that it kills the Horton breakout.
Yes.
Yeah, it really does.
And maybe Cooper Kupp is like officially RIP when it comes to fantasy lineups.
It's sad, but I feel like that's the trade-off. You know, those fantasy gods, they giveth and they taketh away. We've given fantasy value to Shaheed and it's been taken away from Kupp. And yes, Horton had a great game. You're always excited to see, players go off just like him. I mean, he had 4 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he's still going to get the catches, but those touchdowns are what put those points over. And I don't know that he's going to get those again.
Well, it's like they finally got to play with the new toy that they had, right?
Yes,
because
who
Cooper Kupp out of the lineup, see an expanded role for Torrey Horton, and now you're going to put that toy back in the box because you just traded for Shaheed. So
don't want to get it dirty.
I mean, but who's to say that if Sam Darnold just continues to play at this level, then that maybe he can sustain 3 pass catchers in the same offense. So excited for Seattle. Definitely a good thing for Sam Darnold.
Great thing, Sam Darnold. This one from Joe in the chat too. I love how active the chat has been tonight, guys, and that everyone's going back and forth chatting with each other. You guys have been so much fun. So thank you for jumping in. This one, I know you're excited about the Colts, Sam. I'm excited about good things. And I think I'm really excited about their management and the way that it's being run. And, women get great things done. That's all I'm going to say about that. But he's also saying, but now how about the Chargers trading for Penning? Finally give Herbert some protection. Coming from a original San Diego Charger fan. If you're one of the San Diego Charger fan, then it's really great to hear from you because I don't always hear from San Diego Charger fans. Always they're few and far between. But how do you feel about this addition? Because I know we talked about Joe Alt quite a bit. His injuries, absolutely brutal for him. And Herbert does need more time. He has been very quick. However, getting this guy more time in the pocket is going to be critical.
It's fine. They need bodies up there, right? So
they just need a guy. So Penning is just the guy, not to really shoot it down. Tate's not going to sugarcoat this for you, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think it gives you an option. I don't know if I feel great about if you put him out at tackle, but again, it's somebody who has experience that can certainly provide some quality depth along the offensive line. I mean, losing Slater to start before the year started, they were able to right the ship a little bit, but losing Alt too. I mean, you lose 2 Pro Bowl caliber tackles. There's going to be some challenging times, Sam, when they run up against some of the premier edge rushers, and even communication wise, just when you get exotic blitz looks. I mean, you're throwing, a rotating door of all kinds of different bodies up front. I trust Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman and everybody to kind of have things squared away to the best of its capability. But I think it's just going to be a lot of Justin Herbert trying to get the ball out of his hands quickly, which to me actually is something that feels like a positive for Oronde Gadsden's breakout so far, being sustainable because he's such a reliable option near the line of scrimmage and knows how to work against zone coverages. And he's also a problem in man coverage in that short to intermediate portion of the field.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And a good call out about Gadsden too, just sustainability. What else can they do? Continue to feed those that they have available. Love that for them. I really want to talk about, let's see. I want to talk about Quentin Williams to the Cowboys. Did you see that Jerry Jones was like hinting about something the day before? Just wait until trade deadline. This was a great move. Quentin Williams is amazing. I'm not going to downplay that. But do we feel like sometimes Jerry just likes to hear himself talk?
Sam,
it doesn't make sense, right?
All due respect to the man of that's turned the Cowboys brand into a $1 billion company. Sure. This does not make a damn lick of sense. Like, you just gave away a second rounder that became more valuable in a higher pick after your loss yesterday to the Arizona Cardinals, the Jacoby Brissett-led Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
And you trade away that second and one of the first, whichever is higher, whichever is more valuable that you got by offloading Micah Parsons to bring in a defensive tackle. And I know he's a good one. I get it. But did you watch the game last night? They couldn't cover anybody on the back end. This is one of the worst linebacker rooms in the NFL. And you give away, I would say, probably about 75% of what you got in return to trade Micah Parsons because you refused to pay him.
Yeah.
So no, I have no idea what the hell Jerry Jones is doing.
I knew when I was going to pose this question to you, I'm like, I can't wait. Can't wait for you guys to see what we got in store for a trade. Like, and then it happens. I'm like, okay.
He's the delusional person in your dynasty league that has no chance of winning a championship, yet is trading future first.
Yeah.
For a running back 4.
It doesn't make sense. I felt like it didn't make sense to me either. But again, I was excited to talk about
Rant over.
Rant over. No, you're fine. I enjoy your rants. It's why I poke you. I want to know. I want to know what you. I wouldn't ask the question if I didn't want to hear your rant.
Yeah, no,
fair, right? All right, another question here in the chat. Need a streaming tight end for the Guillotine League? Theo Johnson, Loveland, Njoku, or Schultz? Where Loveland out with a concussion is definitely a waiver wire target. 23% rostered in most leagues. He's who I would say that jumps off the page for myself. Or would you rather rank this list, Tate?
Tricky, because I think who has the most value this week is Colson Loveland. So I would go Loveland. Although I am intrigued by Theo Johnson for the rest of the year because it's Guillotine League, right? So you need to win every week. Otherwise, you're at danger of, being eliminated. Theo Johnson does intrigue me because they don't really have much at wide receiver right now. And Jackson Dart is still competing. He's still battling.
That's very fair. Yeah.
David Njoku is in a tight end timeshare in the worst offense in the NFL with Harold Fannin Jr., which makes him come in at 3, even though I think he's the most physically gifted of all these guys. Well, I mean, Loveland's also a great prospect, but you get my point. And then, Dalton Schultz, I just really don't want any part of the Houston Texans passing offense if the name is not Nico Collins.
That's pretty much how I have Njoku and Schultz in this list as well. I can kind of toss up between Theo and Loveland. Again, if you're really looking for, to your point, this is guillotine. You're trying to last the rest of the time. There is very few pass catchers for the Giants. I do feel like they're going to try and stay competitive because this seems like a team that has so much to play for, even if they are not going to make the playoffs. There's just a lot going for this squad. I do feel like Theo Johnson is a very exciting add between those. So I will change my pick from Loveland and go Theo, Loveland, and then in your same order with Njoku and Schultz between them.
It's crazy. Theo Johnson has scored 5 receiving touchdowns over the last 6 games. Yeah,
pretty good.
That's
yeah,
wild.
I like those numbers. Wild. Let's see. Also need to start 3: DJ Moore, Addison, Keenan Allen, Egbuka, and Swift if he plays. I will read the question mark like Ron Burgundy.
It's in the prompter. Going to Buka. DJ Moore and Addison. I don't think Swift's going to play this week after Kyle Monungai went nuts, but I would probably start Swift over DJ Moore if Swift plays.
I think that's fair. Yeah, in terms of how you have them positioned too. Definitely Egbuka. Let's see. Who are the Egbuka, Allen, and then between Swift and Moore. If Swift plays Swift, then Moore for me as well there. This one from Bob. Should I drop Knight for Loveland or Musgrave or White PPR? I have Pitts. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, before you drop Rachaad White, I would definitely check to see what Bucky Irving's status is. Otherwise, I'm holding Rachaad White as long as he is the guy. So when it comes to, I would drop Bam Knight for, I think, Luke Musgrave. Again, once Cole Kmet comes back, we've seen it all year, Sam. Unless Week 9's performance was enough to just, cast off Cole Kmet for the rest of the year, I'm a little hesitant to trust Colston Loveland's breakout performance as what we're going to see moving forward, because it was a game too where Rome Odunze did not catch a single pass, and I don't see that being sustainable moving forward. So I'll prioritize Musgrave over Colston Loveland.
I think that's fair. Okay, one last one, and then I want to get into some studs and duds. I just want to pick a couple between our list that we have here, and then get into your petty parlays. One of my favorite segments that we do here on Sideline Banter. Guys, if you actually haven't already, hit like and subscribe on Women of Fantasy Football. Make sure you do that so that way you don't miss a single show of ours. Also, you can follow us everywhere you get our podcasts over on Women of Fantasy Football. So again, search Women of Fantasy Football, Sideline Banter. You will find us everywhere you get your podcast, and give us a lovely little like and subscribe on YouTube. We really appreciate it. This last one, May or Hurts this week?
Yeah, I'm going Drake May because I'd much rather, even though I'm a Bucs fan, I'd much rather go against the Buccaneers defense than the Green Bay Packers defense. In particular, too, Sam, as of right now, we don't know the status of both Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown. I think they're both expected to play, but it's still something where I like the matchup a lot more against the Bucs defense than the Packers.
Oh, that's fair. I like that one too. I'd go May as well, although it feels weird. I do have Hurts in several leagues. It feels weird, but that's where we're at. All right, we've got a couple lists of guys that have been studs and duds this fantasy season. I think this is really just more to shout out. And again, we're talking about the fact that you're probably all dealing with trade deadlines, and maybe some of these players aren't ones that you had rostered currently or you're looking at targeting. Want to talk about, Drake May, we just mentioned. He has been QB2 in fantasy points for this season. Patrick Mahomes, I think that you and I dissected him quite a bit this offseason in terms of where we were ranking him in quarterbacks. I was pretty scathing, I will be honest. Did not expect him to be what I'm going to read now, which is QB1 in total fantasy points for the season. Do you think he heard the podcast and just was like, I see you, Sam, and there's no chance I'm going to be as brutal as you say? Or is it just the fact that any level of hate in the air fuels the Chiefs, and that's why they keep succeeding.
He's the Michael Jordan of his sport. Of course he listens to our podcast. He hears everything and anything that's negative and says, and I took that personally.
He takes hate and eats it like Wheaties. It's horrible.
Yeah. So, yeah, he definitely heard that. And after, like, I think I had a pretty scathing take on him after starting 0-2. And then, then, he rattled off, 5 of his next 7 games. And, I know he had a rough one against the Buffalo Bills. He's going to be fine. He's here to stay. Drake May's here to stay. I think Rashid Rice if you waited 6 weeks for Rashid Rice, you're super happy about where he's heading as well. So, yeah, I mean, you're mentioning them as studs, and I think they're going to continue to be studs. I don't think it's a fluke whatsoever, their fast start to the year.
Yeah, we've talked about, just quickly on the duds, we've talked about Brian Thomas Jr. quite a bit today in terms of being basically droppable in some formats, depending on how your roster structure is. Absolutely brutal, especially considering where you've drafted him. Talked a little bit about Breece Hall as well. I mean, he's still going to have some run, but I'm just curious because of the social posts, is this going to be a scenario where he plays, tweaks something, and we don't see him rest of the season?
I don't want to jump to that conclusion, but he's on a contract year. And Braylon Allen also got put on IR, I think about a month ago. I mean, he could return at some point this season. And we even saw earlier in the year when Braylon Allen was involved, like those carries were hovering around like 10 to 15 a game. Sure, that's jumped up over the last 3 weeks, but this offense is also capable of laying an egg on any given week if their quarterback play is rough, which is certainly possible if it's going to be Fields or Tyrod Taylor and just Garrett Wilson to throw the ball to, unless you're a believer in an Adonai Mitchell breakout. So, yeah, Sam, he's going to be incredibly tough to trust. And, yeah, there's certainly a possibility that him in a contract year with a team that I don't think is going to give him a contract extension, if he picks up some sort of injury, could he be unavailable? Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm very nervous if I have Breece Hall in any league in terms of what this means going forward rest of the season. If I'm trying to offload someone, he's someone that I'm trying to maybe move on from just because I'm not feeling very comfy having him. Jordan Love, quarterback that I think I was extremely high on, still startable in a lot of leagues. I mean, currently ranked quarterback 11 on ESPN in terms of total fantasy points for the season, sitting at QB 12. Right at the end of, 12 team leagues in terms of who you're looking to start. But when you look at names further down the list in terms of total fantasy points, who I think are just quick names that are going to surpass him very quickly, Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold. I feel like you're going to have some rushing for Dart, and Sam Darnold is on one in terms of throwing as well. I just feel like there's other players I'd rather start that are going to continue to edge someone like Jordan out in terms of fantasy production.
I can't stand Jordan Love as my starting fantasy quarterback.
You don't love him?
No, I don't love him. And it's
no love for Love.
I wouldn't say no love though, because there's some games where he looks outstanding. He diced up your Pittsburgh Steelers, Sam.
Rude.
360 and 3 scores. Like he looked.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. He looked like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback in that game. And then against the Carolina Panthers, he throws one of the worst passes I've seen an NFL quarterback throw in quite some time. And that's saying a lot because we've seen some bad quarterback play during our time on the mic together. And it was a dropped interception by a Carolina DB that the name is slipping me at this time, but it was basically a punt return. And he just, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think I saw that play, and yeah, it was just one of those things where it was so quickly in and out of his hands. You're like, how did you not catch that? Like it touched the gloves. Like what doesn't make it touched open hands? It didn't touch the back. It touched the inside. Right there.
Yeah, his play is so concerning when it's bad that I feel like he could be the true Achilles heel of an otherwise really well constructed roster that could potentially push towards a Super Bowl. That's how uneasy he makes me watching him play on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. I have him as my second quarterback in a couple leagues, and I'm very excited that in some of those I have the likes of Jackson Dart that I can throw in there otherwise because of other options that I've picked up. And it's brutal. You hate to see it. He's definitely been a dud for us this year. Before we jump quickly into petty parlays, because we've basically hit our hour, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. If you have any last minute questions, please throw them in. I'll try and get to them as quickly as we can after we finish petty parlays. But this one first, trade Olave for Devonta Smith. I mean, talking about getting away from offenses and how much I don't want to be with the Saints at all right now and what they're putting together. They did just get rid of Shaheed, so targets should go up, but how many targets have been going to them anyways? And I really like Smith. I don't know.
Sam, I would not trade Olave for Devonta Smith.
No.
I mean, it wasn't all that. I know that Smith's been on a bit of a heater here recently. And
never walk away from the table when you're on a heater. That's what I learned from The Hangover.
I mean, Chris Olave has 87 targets this year, Sam. And that was with Shaheed.
Yeah.
No, I feel like I can trust Olave's floor far more than I can trust Devonta Smith's. Even though I've been very encouraged by what I've seen from the Eagles passing game recently, I'm still gonna, go towards where the volume has been all season for Olave, and it's just been the case all season. So I'm gonna go with the safer play.
I think that's fair. This one from Scampers, then we'll get to Petty Parlay. Speaking of hating watching Jordan Love, is Bo Nix the stone cold most terrible QB5 of all time?
He's in the conversation. He's a candidate. I wouldn't say the most stone cold, but it's hard to believe that he's the QB5 in fantasy right now.
That's where he is. I had to dip out for a bit. Sorry. Appreciate you, Scampers, for always jumping in on the chat. All right, Tate. My favorite part of our show that we do is your petty parlays. These are parlays that have a specific edge to them. This isn't just always about the numbers and the stats. I mean, it is a part of that, but there is something to these bets that just has a little bit extra meat on the bone, some extra salt, if you will, that brings some flavor to the bet because there's something else on the line for the player, for the team, for the coach. It makes it petty. So Tate, give us some petty parlays heading into week 10.
Yeah, boys and girls, it's time for the Tater parlay of the day. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4 leg parlay. Hey, we hit 2 of the 3 last week. Oh, wait, Sam, I forgot. See?
Yes, I thought you forgot your laugh. All right, give me the first one. This is going to be an interesting matchup because you've got actually 2 parlays in this game that we're going to talk about. Browns, Jets.
Yeah, we're talking about, I think, the most exciting game of the week, Sam. The Cleveland Browns versus the New York Jets.
I'm sorry. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Did you say that right?
Most exciting? I was being sarcastic. This one's going to start off with a little bit of a pity party. Pity party parlay, right? And it's for our boy Breece Hall. We've talked about him. We just kind of talked about how we feel really uneasy because he does not want to be there.
No.
It's kind of like the Will Smith gif from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he's looking around, and it's an empty.
The room is empty. Yeah. There's no furniture. There's nothing in there.
There's nothing in there. Your boys are gone, and you're stuck to stay in that empty house that is going to fold like a 10 at any given moment. So with Justin Fields under center and facing Myles Garrett, who was pretty upset last time we saw him, I just don't think it's going to be a very good game for the New York Jets. So give me the under, Sam, of under 40 yards rushing for Breece Hall in this game.
Ooh.
But that's a low mark. He has rushed for under 30 yards 2 games this season, and I think it could be rough and tough sledding against that Browns defense. I'm going to stay in the same game, though, Sam.
Okay.
Because the Jets receiver room is pitiful.
Yeah.
And yet it was so pitiful that it chose not to retain Malachi Corley entering this season. And Malachi Corley is not exactly tearing it up for the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Let's just be,
honest.
But he is seeing the football field, and he has seen some touches in the past 2 games, including, I think it was a 31-yard run, actually, which
Yeah.
is one of the few things he could do because I think he was called like the Yak King during his days at Western Kentucky. Well, I'm thinking this Hilltopper, Sam, and what could be a low-scoring game, and possibly no Quinshon Judkins in this one against his former team in New York. Malachi Corley scores his first NFL touchdown. Give me an anytime touchdown scorer. I can't even say if it's going to be rushing or receiving because I don't even feel that confident. I don't know which one it's going to be because he could, catch a pass or they could hand it to him. Either way, I could see, I'm going out on a limb here because I actually kind of want to give you something that gives you pretty good touchdown odds. And I think Malachi Corley probably has some pretty good touchdown odds on the sports books.
I love this from Scampers. Corley, more like Morley Scorley. I think that's always fun. I love an anytime touchdown for someone that's got a grudge. I also really like your under on the rush for Breece Hall. The Browns are second against the run. This is also a really stout run defense. I think there's a lot of reasons that the under here makes a lot of sense. What is the next parlay? It looks like you've got this one going Eagles Packers.
Yeah, we on Monday Night Football, we're going to Lambeau Field, Sam, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. And oddly enough, Sam, there's going to be potentially 2 former members of the Green Bay Packers facing off against their former team in Quadzilla A.J. Dillon and Jair Alexander, who was recently traded from the Baltimore Ravens to the Philadelphia Eagles. The problem is they've been healthy scratches like the last 2 games, so they're not going to be involved in this petty parlay. Instead, I'm just going to go with Romeo Doubs. I believe that it's going to be an expanded role for him because of the loss of Tucker Kraft, which we didn't really talk much about. I know we mentioned Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, we jumped around a couple, but yeah, Tucker Kraft out with a brutal ACL tear.
Yeah. When it comes to Romeo Doubs, if you've watched enough Packers football, when they get down near the goal line, Josh Jacobs is always an option, but when they have, heavy personnel in there, like 2 or 3 tight ends, and it's just single back with Josh Jacobs in the backfield, you'll see that Romeo Doubs is the only player or only wide receiver on the field. And they generally try to ISO him where he's either running a fade, but 9 times out of 10 stabs to the fade, cuts inside for a quick slant. And I think that was one of the performances where he had a 3 touchdown game earlier this year. And I think 2 of his touchdowns came in that type of manner. So I actually think anytime touchdown for Romeo Doubs. Maybe we see Jair Alexander in this one. Maybe we don't. I think it would be nice if he scores against his former teammate if he manages to get on the football field. But Sam, I'm not even 100% confident Jair Alexander is going to be active for this contest.
That's fair. I do like again, I love an anytime touchdown. I think that Doubs, considering he's currently basically their wide receiver 1 right now, considering the shuffle they've had and so many injuries they've dealt with. Yes, Watson is back, but still getting back into the groove. To your point, without Kraft, those targets are going somewhere. I do like him in the red zone in this one. This last one that you've got for us has a redemption arc to it. Please explain for those listening and watching.
Certainly, I would love to. Remember last year, the Detroit Lions went 15-2 in the regular season, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of momentum. Vibes were good there in the Motor City. Secure the number 1 seed in the NFC, home field advantage, and then they run into Jaden Daniels. And Jared Goff has, probably his 2nd worst game of the season. I know he had one where he threw 5 picks last regular season, but he also threw 3. And that was a contributing factor to the upset loss at the hands of the Washington Commanders. Sam, we just watched Sam Darnold absolutely shred this Washington defense. Trey Amos exited the game with a hip injury. I'm not sure what else we're going to see on the back end that's going to slow down a Detroit Lions team that just came off of a surprising loss against the Minnesota Vikings. So I think that the Lions offense, and particularly Jared Goff, who played poorly in that playoff loss, give me 4 touchdown passes. I think that this Washington defense gets lit up for a 2nd straight week. And I don't think Marcus Mariota and JCM and probably no Terry McLaurin and whatever, they're just not going to be able to keep up with the Lions. So give me a big day at the office for Jared Goff.
That's spicy and fun. I really like that one a lot too. I mean, for myself, I've got Sam Laporta in a couple dynasty leagues as well. Having him get back into the swing of things has been fantastic for those shares of myself. If a couple or even just one of those could go his way, would be delighted. Well, Tate, those were awesome petty parlays, and you made them petty. You definitely always keep the promise on the petty, so I appreciate that. Guys,
Malachi Corley might be my pettiest of the entire year.
That might be your most petty. I don't know. We'll have to do a recap of all of the petty pros and do a ranking of what was the most petty for everything. But any final thoughts before we sign off for those tuning in?
Oh, no. I mean, if you didn't get traded today, then today was a good day. And just understand, your season is not over. You're not mathematically eliminated from your fantasy playoffs quite yet. Well, unless you're like 0-9 or something. But if so, my condolences. There's always next year or DFS. Until next time, everybody. Later, says the Tater.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the Women of Fantasy Football channel everywhere you get your podcasts, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That way you don't miss a single show of Sideline Banter with myself and Tate. Thank you guys so much, and good luck this week in Week 10. We will see you next week for Week 11.